Despite the protagonist of Skyrim having the potential strength of a demigod that's able to take down gigantic immortal beasts and towering powerhouses, like the rest of us, they are still susceptible to getting sick. And Skyrim's diseases are no joke. All of them have varying debuffs, ranging from reduced health to turning your arms into wet noodles. One of them even turns you into a walking moisture evaporator. On their own, they aren't a problem. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've beaten the entire game with rock joint before, kindly given to me by one of the game's mangy mutts that wander around the woodland area near Riverwood. But how hard does it become to survive if you have every single disease at once? I'm here to answer the question. Can you beat Skyrim infected with every disease? Here are the rules. I can only deal damage to enemies whilst infected. And I'm not allowed to equip any enchanted armor that increases my stats, or any enchanted weapons to make me deal more damage. And I have to use either a one-handed or two-handed melee weapon. I'll explain why in a bit. Let's get started. Originally, I was going to make an Argonian character, but I ended up scrapping that idea in favour of a Khajiit. Because despite Argonians having an increased disease resistance that might add some difficulty to the run, I'm going to be using the Redwater Spring to get 90% of the ailments anyway, so there's no point. After making the saddest looking cat I've ever seen, I name her Salidith Far, which is Ta'agra for Dying One. After escaping Helgen, I grab some dosh from the floor chests, and now it's time for me to start collecting diseases like Ash collects Pokemon. So I'm off to Windhelm to get some nautical miles under my belt. I'm wandering around the ashy mound that's called Solstheim for one reason. Droops. A disease added to the game with the addition of the Dragonborn DLC. Now, if I was the recommended level for this blasted shithole, then contracting it from these ash hoppers wouldn't be a problem. But Jesus H. Christ, these little shitbags pack quite the wallop. I had to use so many health potions. After contracting my first illness and taking my first step towards becoming the world's most toxic person, second only to Fluff Dumpster, I head to Redwater Den to get the rest of my plagues. This part was such a slog to get through, because these vampires killed me repeatedly for about half an hour. And unfortunately for me, there's not really much I can do in the way of tactics aside from gritting my teeth and bearing it. They also gave me Sanguinaire Vampiris, which turns out to be a different version than the Redwater Den one. Because when I finally make it to it, and I'm fully on the pattern mick, it turns out that I have two lots of Sanguinaire Vampiris and Rock Joint. Before I get started with the main quest, let's go over some stats. Not including the duplicates, with every disease in the game, I now have minus 25 health, minus 25% lockpicking and pickpocket efficiency, minus 25 magicka, minus 50% magicka regen, minus 25 stamina, minus 50% stamina regen, and a total of minus 40% melee weapon efficiency with droops and rock joint if I use a one-handed or two-handed weapon. This is why I made the rule that I can only use those weapons, because it makes the run so much harder. After cleaving some bandits in two, I'm given a grave reminder that I need to cure myself of my volatile viruses in 3 days or I'll become a vampire. And aside from vampires being able to have droops for some reason, all my other illnesses will go. So before 3 days are up, I'm going to have to cure and reapply them. Getting through Bleakfall's Barrow wasn't exactly hard, but the stat reductions are as noticeable as a nun in a brothel. Especially my damage output. After silencing some smackheads and dethroning their lord, I grab the prehistoric iPad and drop it off with Farengar. Then I tried to cut Murmulnur's head off, but because my stamina is worse than an overweight thief, I spent most of the fight chasing the bloody thing. After the guards pretty much kill him single-handedly, I make myself a set of iron plate armor, and now that I have some extra protection, I make the pilgrimage to the celebrity hermits. I chose to jump up the side of the mountain to avoid the enemies you encounter by taking the regular path up there. But that plan immediately backfired after I almost got absolutely destroyed by this wisp mother. After running away with my tail between my legs, eventually I make it to the coffin-dodging arseholes. After a vigorous training routine, I head back to Redwater Den to see if I can reset the diseases without curing them. It didn't work, so I cure and reapply them. After taking so long that when I eventually get droops back, I do a mini fist pump, which was the weirdest thing I've ever celebrated. I murder a necromancer and her pets, then fight through the corpse jackers and drug addicts inside Ustengrav. despite them trying to crawl up the walls like the baby from Trainspotting. After grabbing Delphine's theft confession, I head to Riverwood to get Argia's MLG horn off the dirty little tea leaf. Then when we head to Coinsgrove together, I actually managed to kill this dragon without having to chase him around for 10 years. Then Rogvir stares directly into my soul. And in a strange coincidence, when I greet Malborn, he says the exact thing my girlfriend's parents said after meeting me for the first time.
Really? You're who she picked?
After giving him my stuff, I hitch a ride to Ellenwood's party. I knew before going in that there was no way I would be able to stealth through, as I hadn't invested any points into the sneak tree. So I opted for a less subtle approach. And by that, I of course mean swinging my battle axe around until everything's dead. Which surprisingly worked in my favour, as the Thalmor guard in the place were weaker than American beer. After grabbing Esbern's high school diary, I save Etienne, killed the troll guard in the exit, which wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Then after watching the Riften guards kill a dragon, I head into the Ratway to save Esbern. And to my surprise, Etienne shows up as well. I escort him to the Ragged Flagon, then fight my way to the agrophobic shitbag. After grabbing him, I cure my extreme COVID and drop him off with his day release carer. Then we head up to the Cloud Ruler Temple. I'm doing this before I get all my diseases back because you can pretty much just run past all the Forsworn. After turning into your average Hot Topic shopper and staring at a wall, I get reinfected, then I head off to see Great Uncle Septimus. After having a chat with the mad old bastard, I head through the Elfland ruins. Here's a fun little fact for you. Cats can smell chemical changes in other cats' bodies, meaning they can detect illnesses. That also means that Jadar knew full well that slashing me to bits with an axe would cause my blood to spray into his eyes and mouth, meaning his insides would start melting like that one scene in Alien. I know he's off his face on skooma, but come on dude, even being near me burns your skin. Now that I've put him down before his existence becomes too painful, after running past the Falmer, who are almost as diseased as me, I find out that even with my reduced health, I can still take the shortcut without it shortcutting my life. After introducing my axe to Umana's arteries and stealing her armour, I run to Avenger's Tower, solve the puzzle, if you can even call it that, and grab the retrogressive wallpaper. After learning how to clip the flying frog's wings, I beat the shit out of Alduin. I only thought about this the other day. Think about how many times I've beaten this dickhead in so many different ways. Then to add salt into the wound, he now gets humbled by a mangy cat that has every disease known to man. If I was him, I'd hang up my hat and call it a day. He's a joke villain at this point. I bet he goes to that bad guy therapy group from Wreck-It Ralph just to cope. After he runs away like a coward, I cure myself, then the leaders of Skyrim tell me I've caused an epidemic. Not of disease, but of autism. After getting my blood radiated again, I trap Odoving and ride him to Skoldafen. After sprinting past all the train spotters all the way to the portal, I humble Arnie, recruit the three twats that caused this situation in the first place to help me batter Alduin again. And as usual, he dies in seconds. After he turns into the tar monster from Scooby-Doo, Saladith heads to the Temple of Kinnereth in Whiterun, so they can study how she not only managed to survive this long with this many diseases, but how she managed to cure herself and get infected multiple times. And with that, I beat Skyrim, infected with every disease in the game. It was interesting to see how much you are limited by the stat reductions. It's also another way to prove that Alduin is a wet wipe that doesn't deserve an ounce of respect as a villain. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel massively. Plus, if you turn on the notification bell, you get to watch more juicy content from yours truly when it releases. I also have a Discord server. The link will be in the description and in my channel bio. If you want to support me further, consider joining as a channel member. You get early access to videos and a mention in them for being such a legend. If there's a specific video you want to see, or you just want to have a chat, drop a comment down below or message the Discord server. And I'll see you next time.